Welcome to the bread word list for VocaVoyage. This month we've had Ebola, heavy, osprey, controversial, and now bread. Everyone loves bread. Who doesn't like a good sandwich? Yeah. Okay, the first word for this month, homemade. Compound word, homemade. Homemade, made at home. Something which is made at home rather than commercially in a factory. Usually higher quality. Homemade. Artisan. Okay, first I'm going to use the adjective. Artisan means something that is produced using knowledge, high quality products. Artisan bread is not the bread from the bread aisle in the supermarket. You go to a bakery and you get nice high quality bread. They put a lot of work in. An artisan is a person who produces stuff in an artisan way. Okay. Recipe. A recipe is a list of the ingredients and the processes to cook something. If you want to cook curry, you have the ingredients and the processes. Collect the ingredients, carry out the processes, voila, curry. Okay, a recipe for making something. Technique. Technique is there's if you want to do something like bake a loaf of bread, there's you get the ingredients, follow the recipe. The techniques is high level. So if you want to do something special, get a special light feeling to your bread, use a special technique. It's a special way to get a special result. Bake. To bake is to put a loaf of bread in an oven, turn it on and cook it by applying heat in an enclosed space. Okay, so you bake bread. Short bakery. I'm baking in here, yeah? Moisture. Moisture is the presence of usually water. So if something has a lot of moisture, it's very damp. If it's mushiatsui, humid, there's a lot of moisture in the air. If you get a nice fresh loaf of bread, you can feel in the middle it's got a nice bit of moisture to it. If it's old bread, it's very dry, no moisture. So it's nice to have a bit of moisture in your bread. Moisturizer you put on your face, puts moisture in your face. Taste. Taste is how something tastes. Tastes nice, it tastes sweet, it tastes sour, it tastes delicious. Taste is also a way to describe what someone likes, okay? So my taste in food is different to my wife Akiko's taste. She likes natto, I don't like natto. She likes liver, I don't like liver. I like Marmite, she doesn't like Marmite. So I have different tastes than her taste. Rise. Rise means to go up. In this list, in the bread list, you get the ingredients, you follow the recipe, you mix them all up, you knead the bread, then you leave it and it rises, okay? So to rise in this list is bread rising, okay? Multi. Multinational, many different countries. Multilingual, many different languages. In the bread list, multi-grain, many different grains. You've got barley, you've got corn, you've got wheat. Okay, so multi. The multi-grain, if you look at it, it's got little chunks of grains in there. It's an artisan style bread. It's fairly high quality and very nice. Not like the hua white bread you find in the supermarket aisle. That's plain white bread. Multi-grain has many different things and healthier. Maybe I should have put grain before multi-grain, yeah? A grain is the little seeds that come from many different plants which are used for baking. Okay, you've got wheat, you've got rye, you've got barley, you've got sunflower. Rice is a grain, yeah? Okay, and multi-grain, more than one grain in the bread. Loaf. A loaf is a piece of bread. It's so long, it's cylindrical in shape, and it's a loaf. And you buy a loaf of bread. Sugar Loaf Mountain is in South Africa. Okay, a bun. A bun is a round piece of bread, about the size of your fist. If women have their hair tied up at the back, it's called a hair bun. So a bun is a piece of bread. You go to the shop and you buy buns, maybe a dozen buns, okay? So a bun is a round piece of bread. Toast. Meishi doshi. Toast. To toast something is to put it in your toaster oven and you apply strong heat and make it brown and crisp. Toast, the noun is a piece of toast. After your piece of bread, you toast it, it becomes a piece of toast. Light. This iPad is very light. It's not heavy. If you get your hua white bread from the supermarket, it's very light. If you get nice piece of artisan multigrain bread, it's a lot heavier. Okay, so light means karui, light. Flavors can also be light. Light flavor or a strong flavor. Crust. The crust is the hard piece. When you bake the bread, the very outside gets the most heat, so it gets hard and baked a lot more, okay? So the crust is the crunchy bit around the outside of the bread. The earth has a crust. The crust is the outside of the earth, yeah? The hard crunchy bit around the outside of the earth before you get to all the melting lava underneath. Bakery. A bakery is a place where they bake bread. So doshi, a verb to bake. A baker is a person who bakes. And a bakery is the place where a baker bakes. And that's where you go and get your bread. You've got many bakeries. My favorite bakery is oh, I can't, what's the name of it? It's gone from my head now. It's in Kotoni. It's gone from my head. Anyway. Donguri. It's lovely. Yeast. Yeast is a tiny little fungus that exists. That yeast is responsible. If you put yeast into bread, it makes it rise. No yeast, bread won't rise. Yeast is used in wine and beer, and it multiplies and multiplies, and it makes the beer ferment. And yeast makes the bread rise. Okay? No yeast, no rise. Roll. A roll is very much like a bun. Actually, a roll is exactly like a bun. Okay, it's a round piece of bread, and you can cut it open and put stuff on and put the top back on. Okay, a bread roll. Slice, doshimeshi. To slice, toast, doshimeshi, slice the same. If you have a loaf of bread, the verb, you slice, 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 slice. Oh, I've got a slice of bread. Okay, the verb to slice, and then you've got a slice. Okay. Whole grain. Whole grain. You got your hua bread, the white bread. Let's go back to rice. Okay. You get rice and then you put it in the rice polisher. If you live in a rice growing area, you can see on the streets, you can go in there and pour your brown rice in, and it polishes it, makes it white. Okay. The same goes with wheat and other grains. They've all got the exterior. If you polish them and you take the outside husk, the outside's called the husk. If you get rid of the husk, it's processed. Whole grain is sonomama, as is. Brown rice, I can't remember the name. Genmai cha, that's whole grain tea if you wish. Dough. When you get your recipe for making bread and you get your flour and your water and everything and you pour it all together, then you've got the big pile of soft stuff you put on there and you knead it. That's dough. Dough is basically uncooked bread. It's the ingredients, mix them, dough, bake it, bread. You've got to knead the dough. Dough can also mean money, but that's an aside. Okay, sourdough. Sourdough is a tricky one. Sourdough, it's a different technique to baking bread. It is left to the yeast in it is left to do its job for a lot longer. It's a lot heavier bread. It's an artisan bread. It's very nice. Not so much of it in Japan. Crisp. Crisp is on the outside very, well, maybe not on the outside. A crisp apple, very crisp, very crunchy. The outside of a nice new piece of baked bread is crisp. Okay, high heat is put on the outside, it becomes crisp. The inside is soft. Characteristic. People have characteristics. You can be happy, you can be generous, you can be kind. Bread can have characteristics. It can be light, it can be crispy, it can be fluffy, it can be artisan, it can be sourdough. There are many different characteristics of bread. Dry. If you leave a piece of bread outside for a week, sitting on a piece of table, it will lose all its moisture. It will become very dry. Nothing worse than a dry piece of bread, okay? So dry is all dried out. Bread and butter. Oh, bread and butter is something different here. Bread and butter, at the moment I work for a company and they provide the majority of my wages. They are my bread and butter. For many years, the car industry, the electronics industry, was Japan's bread and butter. It's where you get your main income from. Okay? Stale. You have a fresh piece of bread, fresh loaf of bread, it's brand new, it's beautiful, it's tasty. If you leave it for too long, a week or so, it gets dry, it gets stale. It's just old bread. Stale cake, stale biscuits. If you get potato chips and you open them and leave them, they become stale. Gluten. Gluten, we've seen gluten before in our list. We saw gluten in the food list, but it's so important to bread, I would include it again. Gluten is proteins that are responsible for the stretchiness of the bread. If you knead bread too much, it will become very hard. So glutens, they make the dough stretchy. Flour. Wheat, you grind it, flour. Flour is the stuff which bread is made of, okay? So you get your wheat, you grind it down, you get flour, and that's what you make bread with. Breadcrumb. Breadcrumbs, if you are making stuff like tonkatsu, breadcrumbs around the outside. Breadcrumbs, you can buy them in the supermarket. It's the bread all ground down and turned into breadcrumbs. You can use them to bulk up meat. You can use them for tonkatsu, many different uses. And that's it, the bread list. Hope you enjoyed it, and please study the PDF lists and enjoy. Any questions, put them on the Facebook page or at the bottom of the YouTube comments place. Thank you very much. Bye bye.